Welcome back to the show. 404-382-0338. You can also email me at Doug@theDougStewartShow.com. Happy Friday to you. The number to the show is 404-382-0338. You can also email me at Doug@theDougStewartShow.com once again. So my baby girl did make it safely down to Florida. Talked about it yesterday. Man. Her and some of her friends were headed down to Florida for spring break. And they're not down there like a whole week. Like they call it spring break week, I think. But they just went down there today, and they're coming back Sunday. And, they made it safe, man. So that's one part out the way now. Just making it back safe, man, and making sure that they're safe down there, man. I said it yesterday, and I'm going to say it again. Can y'all please pray for the children, the Stewie's children's? We need it, Lord. We need it, Lord. We definitely need it, Lord. 404-382-0338. You can also email me at Doug@theDougStewartShow.com. Hour number 2, we do birthdays and entertainment. Got a couple of Stewie's birthdays. You know what? But before I even get into this basketball, man, this is something that I keep saying that I want to try to do. But a lot of times I forget, and we don't keep track of this type of stuff the way that we should. So what I wanted to talk about was, or what I wanted to mention, are a couple of chat posts from yesterday. Now, most of the time I go back and I read the chat messages in the chat room, and a lot of times I'm like, damn, I wish I had saw that earlier today. I could have read that. So here are a couple of choice posts in the chat room from yesterday that I wanted to mention. From my man Chico the Alpha, he says, Doug, I have Alexia at my house, and I promise you, that bitch don't nothing. You hear me? Nothing. Right. So if you're new to the show, we got one of these little Alexa things in the studio, where the idea was we would kind of make her kind of like an assistant. And if we had a question, we would ask Alexa the question and hopefully get a quick answer, as opposed to a lot of times I have to jump on the internet, at the time we're doing the show and try to pull and find answers from somewhere. And, I've asked Alexa probably 10 questions or so, man, and I think this heifer has only answered one right. So Chico is basically saying to me that we're going to get a lot more of the same. Like Alexa ain't worth her name and salt. All right, so let's try it one more time. Alexa, who plays tonight in the NCAA tournament?
Tonight, the college basketball games will be as follows. North Carolina.
Yeah! Thank you, Alexa! She's still talking.
Badgers at 9:59 p.m.
Yeah. Good job. Great job, Alexa. Thank you. Thank you, Alexa. You get to stay around for another day. From a man Fel Pay in the chat room yesterday on Speaker.com. He says, I can see it now. 3 NBA execs were in the office back in the day trying to evaluate what the hell this was Oscar Robertson was doing. What the hell do we call this shit? A brother walked by the office with a mop and bucket. Call that shit the triple-double. And walked away. That was good. That was good. So yesterday we were talking about, Russell Westbrook getting another triple-double and how I thought he should win the championship. And someone had mentioned, several of you had mentioned, that when Oscar Robertson got the season where he averaged a triple-double, he didn't win the MVP. And I was saying that really at the time they probably didn't even, think that the a triple-double, averaging a triple-double was a big thing. Like, they come up with these stats all of the time, and they're relevant way after the fact, but at the very beginning, it's just kind of like obscure. And I was making the point how sacks wasn't started or didn't start to be tracked until, I'm going to think, the 70s, way before, like some of the great defensive end players from the past, accumulated a lot of their statistics. And so my man Felspay is like, yeah, somebody probably walked by the door and just said, call it a triple-double, and the rest is history. Also, one last message yesterday or post yesterday in the chat room from the Big Apple Bastard. Good morning, Big Apple Bastard. So we were talking about the World Baseball Classic, and he said the same white folks celebrating this win in the WBC are the same, derogatory term for white people, rooting against the men's basketball team in the Olympics. F the WBC, I was rooting for Puerto Rico. Damn, the man was rooting for Puerto Rico. And I made that point yesterday, man. It's funny how, sometimes America seems to be rooting for one sport as far as international play, in this case talking about the World Baseball Classic. And then you remember when they had the Olympics, and it was this story, and I don't remember how it even got started, but it was kind of like this feeling out there that, the Americans were spoiled, rotten brats, and that type of thing. And you had kind of like this backlash that Americans wanted to see the American basketball team lose. Y'all remember that? You remember that? And it happens all of the time in boxing, where you got a guy from the U.S. taking on, say, Manny Pacquiao, and Floyd Mayweather Jr. taking on Manny Pacquiao, and more than half of America was rooting for Manny Pacquiao. So it is bullshit. So I agree with the Big Apple Bastard to a large degree on that post. I do. Yeah, that was a good one, man. 404-382-0338. You can also email me at Doug@theDougStewartShow.com. Last night, the Xavier Musketeers get it done, beating shocking Arizona. Ball award to them. Headed to the Elite Eight. So Xavier is headed to the Elite Eight for the first time in a decade. Trevin Blewett kept Xavier close with a big first half, and the Musketeers made the clutch plays down the stretch against the West Region's number 2 seed, upsetting Arizona once again 73-71 on Thursday night. Xavier, who's 30-13 right now, fought through a string of injuries and a late losing streak to reach the NCAA tournament, then opened with a pair of upsets. Blewett scored 18 of his 25 points in the first half to help Xavier keep up the athletic Wildcats. Next up for the Elite Eight, first time since 2008, and third overall, a showdown with number 1 seed Gonzaga on Saturday night. So shouts out to Xavier. We talked about this, man. It's certain teams that kind of have a reputation in the tournament. In recent history, let's just say if you take as far as the sample size the last 10 years, and you can kind of get the feel of some teams and what they traditionally do in the tournament. So Xavier is kind of like one of them giant killers. They've done this a couple of times over the last decade. Another example is Gonzaga, which we'll talk about here in a second. Gonzaga usually, dominates. Gonzaga's kind of like the Boise State of basketball, where they have this dominant regular season. They get into the tournament. Not so much like Boise State in that fact, but they get into the tournament and they always have like a disappointing loss. And so you kind of got reputations, man. And Xavier, they come in and they do the damn thing. The giant killer once again in Arizona. Let down done this year again. Xavier made an impeccable run in his 4th Sweet 16 8 years ago under Mac, overcoming a late 6-game losing streak in the loss of point guard Edmund Summer to a torn ACL. Up next, once again, Xavier takes on Gonzaga. Speaking of Gonzaga, and you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show. Thank you for joining me. Speaking of Gonzaga, Jordan Matthews hit the go-ahead three-pointer with under a minute to play, and top-seeded Gonzaga survived a rough shooting night all around to beat number 4 seed West Virginia 61-58 Thursday night to advance to the West Regional Final. How about this from head coach Mark Few? All year we've been banking on our defense. Our defense, Coach Few says. Our defense stepped up and got it done there at the end. West Virginia 29-8 had 3 shots to tie the game, but Tarek Phillips missed a shot from the lane, and Javon Carter missed 2 3-pointers after Silas Melson made 1 foul shot. Despite shooting 26.7% for the game, West Virginia stayed close and took a 58-55 lead on a 3-pointer by Carter with 1:47 left to play. Gonzaga, the Bulldogs struggled to get into their offense all game long. WCC Player of the Year, Williams Gross, was held to 10 points on 2 for 10 shooting with 5 turnovers. Gonzaga has made it to the 3rd regional final to go with their 8 Sweet 16 trips and 19 straight tournament appearances. Up next, Gonzaga takes on the number 11 seed Xavier Musketeers for a spot in the Final Four. Yeah. So you got the number 1 seed Gonzaga taking on the number 11 seed Xavier. Like I want to say, and I should go back and look at my bracket to see how far I had Xavier. I believe I had Xavier with a couple of upsets in the tournament. And you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show. Here we go right here. So Xavier and Gonzaga. Where did I have Gonzaga getting beat? Well, that's no good because I had Gonzaga losing in the second round. I had them losing to Vanderbilt, which was not the case. Or no, I'm sorry. I had Gonzaga making it to the 3rd round, to the Sweet 16, and then I had them losing, and so they advanced to the Elite 8. But Gonzaga, the number 1 seed versus the 11 seed, that should be interesting. Also, last night, and you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show, that miracle last couple of weeks for Michigan has pretty much come to an end. Not pretty much, it has come to an end. Tyler Dorsey's teammates call him Mr. March, and Dorsey did big things last night. He scored 20 points and made the go-ahead layup with 1:08 left, and 3rd-seeded Oregon held on to in number 7 Michigan's dramatic postseason with a run of 69-68 victory in a Midwest regional semifinal on Thursday night. Michigan's Mo Wagner scored a career-high 29 points in Sunday's win over number 2 seeded Louisville. Oregon won despite making just 9 of 16 free throws. That's right. The Wolverines have gone through a lot. And we didn't even talk about this on the show, man, with their plane skidding off the runway as they tried to fly into the Big Ten tournament and advance to the Sweet 16 as the number 7 seed. So they're saying that thing was serious, man, and, it could have ended tragically for Michigan. Ultimately, fatigue